Man, apparently I decided to theme this fade out. It's fade out themed because I feel like every song I've picked is faded out at the end.
But yeah, as far as I understand, and I could be wrong on this, but as far as I understand, this is actually the group that the genre death metal is named after. Is named after the band Death.
I don't. Yeah,
Far as
from what I know, they were one of the first kind of bands that were categorized as death metal. I didn't know that it was actually named after him like that, which is kind of cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
which is kind of, guess makes sense, right? Because their name. But yeah, it's kind. This is stumbled upon this band. It was like just stumbling into a gold mine. It was like I'd never heard of them, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is like one of the most influential death metal bands of all time. No, it's just it was a treat to go back through it, go and listen through all their. I think they only made 5 or 6 albums. I think Symbolic was released in 1995, and then I believe the frontman Chuck, he passed away sometime in the early 2000s, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that I'm pretty sure that they were active for about a decade, give or take. Because their first album, Scream Bloody Gore, came out in 87. And then their last album, Sound of Perseverance, was 98. So, yeah, pretty much throughout the 90s. And it's interesting, like, especially if you're kind of a metal historian, as it were. It's interesting how you can definitely hear the influences. Like death metal, I would say, is very much sort of like the next step of like thrash, basically. And I think that at this point too, especially with that sort of like that little down tempo section there that was like just super chuggy. Because this came out in 95, I think that this probably started, they got a little bit influenced by like the groove metal type of stuff that started happening around that time. And that's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, so the album that came out before this one, I believe was called Human. And that album kind of marked the start of a kind of stylistic change in the band. A lot of the lyrics started to be a lot more philosophical and spiritualistic, and it incorporated a lot more kind of prog elements into the traditional kind of speed death metal stuff. And then that just evolved even more into this and Symbolic, which is cool, and kind of what you were talking about as well. And what I really love about this song and this album is the drummer Gene's his playing is really unique, very musical metal drumming. Especially I don't know if you're at the end, if you're listening there, he's playing that groove, that double kick groove, but he's accenting with different cymbals, and he phrases it a couple times through, and then he switches to some splash cymbals and moves it around. It's just like little stuff like that. It's just super cool, and makes it stand out a little bit.
And it's kind of interesting. It seems like over the past year or so, you and I have done some very similar deep dives, because along with Trivium, like almost a year ago, I actually did a Death deep dive as well. Like listened to their entire catalog all the way through.
Yeah, no way. That's funny.
So that's kind of funny. But it's definitely definitely some interesting stuff, and you can definitely start to draw parallels and sort of draw lineages of the various sounds of metal when you go back and do that type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And you can definitely hear the influence in bands like Trivium and other modern Lamb of God and modern metal bands today, influenced by Death and some of the other original kind of death metal bands. Very cool stuff. That's what I did a lot of last summer when I was delivering food around town. Was just deep diving and listening through a bunch of albums. Pick a band and just listen to their catalog for a couple days.
Sounds like a good time to me.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so my next tune is going to be more of a sort of funk type of thing. I wouldn't necessarily categorize them as a funk band. I would say that they're more of a pop band with funk influence. But this song is called Russian by Great Time, and this was actually one that Joseph Stiers, another person that you know and another person who's been on the podcast, actually showed me about a year and a half ago, maybe. So this is Russian by Great Time.